I'm Samuel J. Snead, and this is the UNBURIED Podcast for Christian entrepreneurs who are tired of making good money and at the end of the month, feeling like they're broke. I'm not here to chase you. I'm not here to convince you. I'm a lighthouse, and this podcast is the light. And if you're making $10,000 to $30,000 a month but can't see where the leaks are, you're exactly where you need to be. Because here's the truth most business coaches won't tell you. The problem isn't your system, it's your sight. You can't steward what you won't observe. You can't plug a leak if you refuse to look at it. So we're going to unbury it together. Not with more hustle, not with better funnels, but with one thing you've been avoiding: presence. Let's stop performing. Let's start being. Welcome to Unburied. Let me tell you why this podcast exists, and more importantly, why it might be the most important minute you spend this week. You know, it's been years ago when my son said something that broke me. And he was right. I was obsessed with building, obsessed with revenue, obsessed with more. Always too busy. I was making decent money, hitting goals, growing the business, but at the end of every month, broke. Not can't pay my bills broke, but where did it all go broke? You know that feeling, right? You make $10,000, $20,000, maybe $30,000 in a month. You track your MRR, you know your revenue numbers, but then you look at the bank account and think, how am I not further ahead? Here's what I discovered in that moment with my son. The reason I couldn't see my money was the same reason I couldn't see my son. I wasn't present. See, most business coaches will tell you you need better systems, better tracking, better budgets, better discipline. And sure, systems matter, but here's what they won't tell you. You can have the best system in the world, and it won't matter if you're not present enough to use it. Think about it. How many times have you set up a budget and then ignored it? How many times have you promised yourself you'd track expenses and then didn't? How many times have you said this month will be different and it wasn't? This is not a discipline problem. This is a presence problem. You're so busy performing, building, selling, delivering, growing, that you're not actually there to witness what's happening with your money. And here's the thing about money. It behaves differently when you're watching it. Just like those photons in quantum physics, when you're truly present to observe where your money is going, it stops leaking. Not because you suddenly got smarter, not because you found some magic formula, but because your presence changes outcomes. You can't steward what you won't observe. In quantum physics, there's something called the observer effect. Particles of light behave differently when someone's watching them. Just by observing, you change the outcome. I would have you consider our perception, our attention can be seen as shaping our financial reality. And here's a few of them. Beliefs shape outcomes. A strong belief in abundance or scarcity is a form of observation that can influence one's actions, risk-taking, and ultimately one's financial situation and a self-fulfilling prophecy. Another one is perception of presence, the belief that one can constantly be watching a divine entity, God, as the ultimate observer, can lead to significantly self-monitoring and moral behavior. The last piece here is awareness changes behavior. Simply tracking your spending and income, observing your finances, often causes you to change your habits and make healthier financial choices, thereby altering your financial reality. And I want you to know your money works the same. When you're not present enough to observe where it's going, it leaks. Not because you're bad at business, but because you're not there to see it happen. Let me describe your month. Tell me if I'm wrong. Beginning of the month, you're optimistic. You got revenue coming in. You're feeling good. Middle of the month, you're busy, delivering, building, selling, moving fast. But at the end of the month, you look at your account and think, wait, where did it go? And here's the move you make every single time. Instead of stopping to see where it went, you tell yourself, I just need to make more. So you build another funnel, you launch another offer, you work more hours, spend more time in the office, and next month, same cycle. More revenue, same result. You know what that is? That's burying your talent. Remember that parable? The servant who buried his talent in the ground? Everyone thinks he was lazy, but read it again. He wasn't lazy. He was afraid. Afraid to look at it. Afraid to steward it. Afraid to be responsible for it. So he buried it. Out of sight, out of mind, right? And that's exactly what you're doing with your money leaks. You know they're there just like I do. You just won't look at them. Because if you look at them, then you have to deal with them. And dealing with them means confronting some uncomfortable truths about how you've been operating. What we're talking about here is what stewardship actually means. And here's what changed everything for me. I realized stewardship isn't about making more. Stewardship is about seeing what you already have. God doesn't need you to make more money. He needs you to be present to what He's already given you. And here's the thing most Christian entrepreneurs miss. What you do at home, you do at work. If you can't be present with your money at home, you won't be present with your money in business. If you're avoiding the leaks in your personal finances, you're going to avoid them in your business too. I learned this the hard way. I had to face the fact that I was performing instead of being present. And when I finally got present, really present, I started seeing things I'd been avoiding for years. The subscription I forgot to cancel. The small purchases that added up to thousands. The business expenses that weren't actually necessary. The leaks weren't hidden. I just wasn't looking for them. So I decided to do something about it, and I wanted to make something that was simple. So I came up with a simple 7 system. Here's what I discovered. Most entrepreneurs are out there tracking MRR. Smart entrepreneurs are tracking what I call WRR. While MRR, monthly recurring revenue, tells you what you made, WRR tells you what you kept. It's a big difference. When you measure what you keep every single week, you can't avoid the leaks anymore. They're right there in front of you. And when you see them, you can finally do something about them. So what will this podcast do for you? This is what Unburied is about. Every episode, we're going to dig up what's been buried, not just in your finances, but in your life. Because here's the truth. The way you handle money reveals everything about your character, your discipline, your integrity, your presence, and your stewardship. Jesus said, if you're not faithful with little, you won't be faithful with much. And most of us are proving Him right. We want God to bless us with more, but we won't even be present to what He's already given us. So we're going to unbury it. The money leaks, the avoidance patterns, the performance addiction, all of it. Not so I can shame you, but so you can finally see, because once you see it, you can steward it. I'm not going to chase you. I'm not going to beg you to listen. I'm going to show up every week, shine the light, and trust that the people who need it will find it. If you're making $10,000 to $30,000 a month and you know money is leaking, but you can't see where, this podcast is for you. If you're a Christian parent in business who's tired of choosing between presence at home and profit at work, this podcast is for you. If you're ready to stop performing, start being present, this podcast is for you. But if you're looking for someone to tell you it's not your fault or give you permission to keep avoiding the truth, this ain't your podcast. I'm here to help you see, not to make you comfortable. So here's what I want you to do after this episode. Ask yourself one question, just one. What am I avoiding looking at in my money right now? Don't answer it out loud. Don't text it to someone. Don't journal it. Just sit with it. Let it sit in your chest for a minute. Because that uncomfortable feeling you just felt, that's the Holy Spirit saying, it's time to unbury this. And if you're ready to do that work, I've got a blueprint that I'll show you exactly where the leaks are. It's called the Present and Profitable Blueprint. You can get access to it on this page by just following the link below. It's in the description. It includes the Simple 7 system and everything you need to finally see what you've been avoiding. You can grab it at presentandprofitable.com. But whether you get the blueprint or not, come back next week because we're just getting started. And this is Unburied. Let's stop performing. Let's start being present. I spent most of my life not being present and profitable, and now those are 2 words I live by. If you can dig it, you're in the right place. Stay tuned to the Unburied Podcast, because what you need is already inside you, and we're going to unbury it together. I'll see you on the next episode.